All right, guys, how's it going? Back with another video. Coming out with this video later than I hoped for, but you guys know how it is. Life is busy. Better late than never. At least getting it in before the games start, right? So this one, I'm just gonna be going over my picks for this week, week two of the NFL, kind of breaking down my thought process, explaining, my logic for picking that team, just like I did last week, pretty much. Plan on making this video every week. So I'll just jump right into it here. So, starting out the Thursday game, wrote an article on that, picked the Dolphins. I couldn't have been more wrong about this one. A lot of my predictions did not happen. Obviously, the main one being the Dolphins winning the game, so that was not a great pick on my part. But at least I had Von A-Chain on one team and I had James Cook on another, so I'm off to a pretty good fantasy start this week at least. Not a big Tua guy, but do not think Tua is a great quarterback. But hopefully he's okay. That's a really shitty situation he's in. Oh God, gonna be interesting to see how that plays out. I don't know. Hopefully he's okay though, even though I'm not a big fan. So starting with today's games, Cowboys Saints. I'm going with the Cowboys in this one. I feel pretty confident with this pick. Obviously, the Saints slaughtered the Panthers last week. Cowboys dominated the Browns last week. The Cowboys, I think, are just the better team. I think, most people would agree with that. I think there's a reason 91% of people are picking them, as you can see here. They're just the better team, I think. They're at home. They take care of business at home. I think the only home game they lost, I think definitely last year, maybe even the past 2 years, was the wild card game to Green Bay. They take care of business at home. They're the better team. I think they're definitely going to get a lot of pressure on Derek Carr. The Saints' offensive line's a big question mark. It held up good last week, but I think that's a completely different unit they're going up against in the Cowboys pass rush compared to the Panthers. I think, yeah, I think the Saints could get some offense going. I think Shaheed could have a couple deep bombs. He had first touchdown on the Sunday season against the Panthers last week on that deep shot in 3rd and 10. But Zimmer's gonna have a good game plan. I think the Saints offense is gonna struggle most of the day. Cowboys or their offense is gonna have a pretty efficient day. I feel pretty confident picking them to win this one. Next up, you got Bucks Lions. Unfortunately, the Bucks are dealing with a lot. I would pick the Lions anyway, even if the Bucks weren't dealing with injuries. But I, and I would feel confident about that. And I feel even more confident picking them with the injuries the Bucks have. Big one, their secondary is very, very much banged up. They're missing Winfield. Hall just broke his or fractured his leg last week. They are banged up, even though they did look very good. They looked like best offense in the league besides the Saints last week, probably. The Lions had a very not typical, Lions game based off of last year. Their offense was not as efficient, kind of struggled to move the ball at times. Their defense kind of kept them in it, even though their defense didn't play very good in the second half. They forced that punt at the end when it mattered most. Bucks obviously looked really good last week. Their defense looked pretty good. As I was just talking about, their offense was extremely, extremely efficient. Baker looked like an MVP candidate. Yeah, this is gonna be a good obviously they played twice last year. You don't want to base too much off that, but they're pretty much the same teams as they were last year. I think they're both better than they were last year, especially the Lions. Um I was the first game in Tampa, the Lions kind of dominated. Bucks only put up six. At least, yeah, did they? I think they only put up six. Pretty sure. Then the second game in Detroit, the divisional round, a lot more offense. It was, neck and neck, and the Lions kind of pulled away. The Bucks fought back, made it a one possession game, and then Baker threw that pick late. I think even with the injuries, this could be a relatively close game, except my guts kind of tell me the Lions win this fairly with a fairly good winning margin. I think they'll. My gut says they're going to win by more than one score. I could see a neck and neck game, and I'm going to go with a prediction that they win by more than one score. I think their offense gets back on track. Um, Obviously, Todd Bowles is a heavy blitzer. That could play into effect. Jared Goff played really well against Todd Bowles' blitz last year, especially that game in Tampa. They could get some deep shots. Jameson Williams against the blitz. They started getting Jameson Williams involved last week against the Rams. And Amon-Ra St. Brown was very, very quiet last week, pretty much did nothing. I think he's going to have a bounce back game. I think he's going to have a very good game. I feel pretty good with the Lions winning this game. Next game, we get Colts and Packers. So Jordan Love was starting. I definitely would be picking the Packers, but looks like Malik Willis is going to get, well, he is going to get the start. I don't think they've officially announced it. Maybe they have. I don't think they've officially announced it, but it looks like almost certainly Willis is going to get the start. I don't think this is going to be a free win for the Colts, as a lot of people are saying, at least that I'm seeing. I think the Colts are going to win the game, but I don't think it's going to be, an easy, free win for them. Packers' offensive system makes it so they can at least get by without Love. I think obviously they're going to be a heavy base run team with Willis in there. They're probably going to make a lot of short throws with Willis, get him out. The one thing Willis does well is he's mobile. So I think they're going to, when they pass them, they're going to do bootlegs, short play action passes, play to his play style. They're going to run the ball a lot. Like I'm talking about, Josh Jacobs is going to be a lot of carries. Patrick Taylor had a pretty good game against the Eagles last week. I think he'll get a good amount of touches. They're going to be a heavy run team, short passing, play action, bootleg team. And the Colts also, they can't really prepare for a Malik Willis offense because obviously he hasn't really played the Packers besides those 2 snaps at the end of the game last week. Yeah, I think the Colts should win this game. Their offense, I think, could have a pretty good day. Packers defense, I think, could be good this year. They were very up and down last week, but I think the Colts offense could have a good day. Colts defense, even though I'm talking about the unpredictability with Malik Willis, I think the Colts defense should be able to contain them well enough to win the game. I'm not going to be shell shocked if the Packers end up winning this game, but I feel fairly confident that the Colts are going to win this game. I just think Malik Willis isn't going to be good enough to get the job done. Yeah, I something else about this game. What was I gonna say? If I remember it, I'll come back. But I feel fairly confident the Colts are going to win. Although I would not be surprised if the Packers win. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays. A lot of clock draining in this game. I think that's what I was going to say. Packers going to run short passing. Colts are going to want to get Taylor going. They run read options to Richardson. I think this game is going to blow by. This will probably be the earliest 1 o'clock game to end if I had to make a prediction. In that regard, next up we got Jets and Titans. I'm going to go with the Jets in this one. I think their defense gets back on track. Titans offense, we saw the second half of the game last week against the Bears completely collapsed. They had pretty much nothing offensively. Jets are looking for a bounce back game in general, but especially defensively, they did not play well against the Niners. They did for about a quarter and a half, and then after that, the Niners just moved up and down the field on will. Think the Jets offense could have a decent day. They looked, not great against the Niners. They had those 2 touchdown drives. Well, they had 3, but one of them was a garbage time. The 2 touchdown drives they had with Rodgers, they looked pretty good. Especially that second one. Rodgers was throwing some zingers in there to Garrett Wilson. Then he had that classic Aaron Rodgers free play with the vertical route to Lazard there. He scored a touchdown. I think the Titans' defensive line could get a good amount of pressure. The Titans are a sneaky team this year, and I think they, especially defensively, they're a really stout defense. The Bears pretty much did nothing defensively, offensively last week, and I think a big part of that was his questionable play calling, but I think another big part of it was just because the Titans' defense is really good. So this is a sneaky game. I would not be too surprised. It's kind of similar situation in regards to who's going to win. It's the Colts Packers. I'm going with the Jets. pretty confident with the Jets, but I would not be completely shell-shocked if the Titans end up pulling this one out. Yeah, this will be an interesting game, though. I think a lot of clock draining in this one, too. Next up, we had Niners Vikings. So I'm surprised only 6% of people are picking the Vikings. I feel good with the Niners in this one. I think the Vikings, I think the way this game plays out is I honestly think the Niners take this game by at least, I want to say 10 points. And I think the Vikings this week kind of look like the team many people were expecting them entering the year. I think Sam Darnold is going to have a rough game. I think the Niners defense is going to have a really good game. They played really good last week. I was kind of concerned that they lost Steve Wilks there, even though he was kind of good, but kind of his how do I word it? His scheme really didn't work with the Niners. He had a couple questionable play calls last year. One of them against the Vikings, actually, on Monday night when he blitzed and when the Vikings, they clock running out situation and at the end of the first half, and Addison ripped the ball away from the DB and scored a touchdown. He had a couple situations like that. But the Niners defense played really well last week, really stout defense. They were well prepared. Jordan Mason ran wild on the Jets. Um, think, yeah, I think that the Niners win this fairly comfortably, even though obviously this game last year, the Vikings won. They were banged up, and that was Purdy's probably his worst game of the year. I know they were banged up. They were missing some guys. I want to say I think they were missing Trent Williams, I want to say. I know they were missing Debo. Yeah, I know they were banged up. Um, but again, and I remember Purdy, I think there were like rumors he got a concussion that game or reports that he played through, but whatever. Vikings looked really good in this matchup last year. I think their defense could cause some issues for the Niners, but my gut is telling me that the Niners win this game fairly comfortably. Their defense gives Darnold trouble. I just think, obviously, the Niners are the better team. It being in Minnesota, though, is obviously that helps the Vikings. If this was in San Fran, I would feel even more confident. I still feel pretty confident the Niners win this game. I would I would be a little surprised if the Vikings end up pulling this one out, though. I wouldn't be shell shocked, but I would be more surprised that these two teams ended up winning their games. Next up, we got Seahawks. My team, the Pats. So originally, I actually had the Seahawks, and I thought it over more and more. I was listening to people talk about the game, and then as soon as I saw Kenneth Walker was doubtful, I changed my pick to the Pats. I'm rocking with my team, and as a matter of fact, the more I think about it, I actually feel more and more confident. We got a situation to tackle that. Okafor said he doesn't want to play. Which, oh my God, just an absolute disaster with that. But whatever. We did fine last week. Obviously, Seahawks, they played very sloppy, especially in the first half last week. They kind of, pulled their heads out of their asses in the second half against the Broncos. I don't think we'll be getting two safeties on the Seahawks like the Broncos did. But if the Seahawks play like they did last week against the Broncos, again, especially in the first half, we're going to win this game, I think. I think this game is very low scoring. Obviously, we get two good defenses. The Mike Macdonald defense was really good last week when they weren't, again, giving up safeties or pretty much points that weren't on the defense, like the turnovers the Seahawks had. I know Geno's first pass was picked. They got a field goal out of that. The Broncos, and I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, the Seahawks mocked the punt, and the Broncos got a field goal off. That's all. But half their points, the Seahawks defense, if I remember right, only really gave up 10 points, like where the Broncos had to actually drive the field and weren't in scoring position or scored off the safety already. Yeah, that makes any sense. I think offensively, we could have a rough day. I'm really high on Mike Macdonald and the Seahawks defense. I think we kind of could have a very long day offensively, not get much going. But I'm going to stay optimistic. Think we have a similar offensive output to last week, even though the Bengals defense is probably worse than the Seahawks defense. I think we missed opportunities offensively last week that hopefully we can take advantage of. We had a couple bat 3-and-outs last week where we really could have gave ourselves a cushion on that game and taken full control, but we won, so it doesn't really matter, I guess, now. Defensively, I think we could have a good day. Obviously, Metcalf, Lockett, and JSN, that's a nasty combo there. I think I think if the Seahawks win this game, it's going to be because we turn the ball over, give them good field position, and I think offensively they could see success going deep to Metcalf or JSN or Lockett, missing a tackle on Lockett. He makes a play in the open field, something like that. I just think Kenneth Walker being on, I think that's big. They're going to have Charbonnet in there. I think the Seahawks are, I'm not going to be biased. The Seahawks are a better team than us. They should win this game. It definitely helps. If this was in Seattle, I'd probably be for sure picking the Seahawks. And glad it's at home, though, obviously. Home opener, crowd's going to be electric. Team is hungry. That's going to be their persona, embracing the underdog mentality. They're going to play vicious on the field like they did last week. They really are going to want to win this game, especially the home opener against a respectable Seattle team, make a statement. Even though the Seahawks should win this game, I feel fairly confident our defense is going to play well enough. If hopefully we can get Geno play like he did in the first half, not seeing the field as well. Because I think in the Seahawks, if we win the turnover battle, I feel very confident saying that we're going to win this game. We just have to be conservative on offense, have Brissett be a game manager, kind of like he was last week. He did have a couple nice runs and scrambles too last week. I feel fairly confident we're going to win this game. I'm not, if the Seahawks win, I'm not even going to say I'm surprised. They probably should win this game. Maybe it's a little biased in picking my own team in this one, but I feel fairly confident. I feel fairly confident. Yeah, hopefully, hopefully I'm wrong. We win this game by 100, but I think this is definitely a low scoring defense. This game to me had 17-13 written all over it. 20-10. It's something along those lines. I'm gonna go with us. I think we score around 17-ish points, and the Seahawks, I'm gonna say they score around 13 or 14. Close game, but I'm gonna go with us to win this one. This is probably gonna bite me on the ass, but whatever. Oh, this speaking of games that's gonna bite me on the ass. I am picking the Giants in this game, and I cannot believe I am. 88% of people are picking the Commanders in this one, which I had the Commanders originally, and then I thought about it more and more, listened to people talk about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to change my pick. I mean, the Commanders should win this game. You get two fairly evenly matched teams. Commanders are at home. They're coming off they lost, but they're coming off a better performance than the Giants. Giants probably had the worst performance in the league last week besides the Panthers. Um, the reason I'm going with the Giants in this game is logically it doesn't make much sense. I just kind of have a gut feeling the Giants pull their heads out of their asses this week, pull it all together, and just kind of have a good game. I think offensively the Giants are going to attack the secondary, specifically the corners of Washington. That's their weak points. That's exactly what the Bucs did last week. I think Malik Neighbors could have a good game. I have Hollywood Brown on one of my teams, so I just put him on IR. He's probably out for the whole regular season. A report came out yesterday saying I picked up Wan'Dale Robinson off of waivers. Hopefully that's a sneaky pickup. I was able to get there. I think he could have a good day. Slayton could have a good day. See, the Giants, they actually have a pretty solid receiving core. They had pretty much nothing in the run game last week against the Vikings. I think they could have a good running game with Singletary. The Giants just played so bad last week that no one's gonna be picking them to win. Again, only 12% of people are picking them here. And I don't know, just kind of a gut feeling that they go into Washington, just put together a good game. Defensively, I think they'll be able to contain the Commanders' offense very well. The Commanders' offense did not play as good as I was expecting last week. I thought they were gonna have a much more efficient offensive output last week. They ended up scoring a garbage time touchdown and make it look better than it was. But too much running with Jaden Daniels, which Dan Quinn talked about. Just too much running with Jaden Daniels. Austin Eckler, I'm pretty sure, is their leading receiver. And I think both their running backs were their leading receivers last week. That's a problem. That's a problem. Especially the Bucs, their secondary is banged up as the game progressed last week. Yeah, not much logically, but I don't know. Just more of a gut feeling on this one that the Giants go into Washington, put together a good game. I don't know. I just feel it's weird as it is to say. I just got, even though it's not much logic that supports this notion, I just kind of feel the Giants, my gut's telling me the Giants going to Washington are able to kind of just take control of the game. I just foresee a bad game from Washington and a good game from the Giants. I don't know why. The only thing logically is that the Giants have played the Commanders pretty well in the Brian Daboll era. As terrible as they were last year, they played them well too. I don't know, just more of a gut feeling, but as weird as it is to say, I kind of feel good with the Giants in this game. It's always the two shitty teams that play that are the hardest to pick, at least for me. Another 1 o'clock game. We got Chargers and Panthers. Oh my God. Only 2% of people are taking the Panthers. That's even less than 3% of people took the Patriots last week. So this is even less than that. Oh boy, poor Pan. That was absolutely abysmal last week. I feel very confident in the Chargers in this one. If this was the Brandon Staley Chargers, I would feel a lot less confident. But Jim Harbaugh, these are the games he takes care of when you play a shitty team that you're much better than. You're supposed to beat them. These are the games Jim Harbaugh does not mess around with, and he wins these types of games. Chargers offense, I think, could have really, they kind of, if you just look at the box score, you're going to think they had a pretty good game last week. They struggled most of the game. They ended up picking it up in the fourth quarter, but I think their offense could have a really efficient day in this one. The Panthers defense looked horrible last week. They took away from their defense to add to their offense, and their offense looked just abysmal last week against the Saints. And they're banged up. They're losing guys. They just lost their best player. Oh boy. Yeah, just not Derek Brown, I mean, by the way. I'm talking about their best player. Off the Chargers defense was really good last week. I think the Panthers offense could be in store for, I don't think it's gonna be 47-10, but I think the Chargers are gonna win this game fairly, I don't want to say easy, but what's the word? Fairly they just win it fairly comfortably. There we go. That's a good word to put it. Um, yeah, I think the Panthers could be in for another rough offensive showing. I think the Chargers win this game by multiple scores. I feel pretty confident with that pick. Jags and Browns. I'm gonna go with the Jags in this one. Browns. I had the Browns at 12-5. I had so much hope. Yes, they were missing two of their tackles last week, but they just looked terrible. Watson looked horrible. Just looked bad. The Jags should have beaten the Dolphins. They were about to be at 24-7. They probably would have won the game. Then as soon as ETN fumbled, all the momentum changed in that one. They just had some questionable play calling. Yeah, they completely blew it. That's just the way it is. They blew it against the Dolphins this week. They should be 1-0. Should have won last week. They're at home, again against a banged up Browns team. Yeah, just Watson looked awful. The Jags defense under Ryan Nielsen, who I really like, really respect Ryan Nielsen, really good defensive coach, good defensive coordinator. They played pretty well against the Dolphins last week. And the Browns offense is probably, especially without Chubb, is in the, again, there are two tackles missing, is of a lesser tier than the Dolphins offense. So they played that good against the Dolphins last week. I think they could have a pretty good showing against the Browns this week. Jags offense, I think it'll be an okay day. The Browns defense, as much as the team played horrible, the Browns defense actually didn't play that bad. They allowed 33, but a lot of it was just because of bad field positioning. The Cowboys got a punt return touchdown. I think Dak only had like 170 yards and a touchdown. I want to say the Browns defense did not even play that bad last week, and they didn't allow a lot of rushing yards. I think Dallas in total only hit around, I want to say 50 to 60 rushing yards. So the Browns defense, I think, could have a good day, is basically what I'm saying. But I think the Jags offense will be good enough to put up around 20. I think the Browns end up scoring around 17. I think this will be a relatively close game, and I feel pretty confident with the Jags, but would not at all be surprised if the Browns win this one. But I'm going to comfortably kind of go with the Jags. Oh my God, another 2% pick. So next game, we get Raiders, Ravens. I definitely think the Ravens win this game. I feel very confident with this pick. They're just the better team. They're at home. They're coming off a loss. They're obviously gonna be hungry to win. Then you get the Raiders, who they're also coming off a loss. They feel they should have won the game. They talked about that they felt they blew it more than the Chargers won it. But the Ravens are just the better team. Their defense is going to cause issues for the Raiders offense. Raiders defense, I think, could actually have a decent game, but I think the Ravens offense is going to be good enough to put up around in the 20s. I just don't see the Raiders scoring more than I'm going to say I think 17 is their maybe 20 is their absolute ceiling, but I think the Raiders offense is going to have kind of a rough showing, especially in Baltimore. I just yeah, I their offense is going to have a rough showing. I think the Ravens offense is going to have a good game. I think Henry's going to get more involved than he was last week against the Chiefs in the opener. Yeah, I feel pretty confident with it. I think Lamar could run wild again. I just I don't really see a realistic scenario where the Raiders go into Baltimore and are able to win this game unless they get a lot of fluky, maybe not fluky, but just a lot of things to bounce their way, like turnovers, penalties, maybe things like that. I feel very confident with the Ravens in this one, which is unfortunate because I do hate the Raiders and I hate the Ravens, but that's okay. Next game, we got Rams Cardinals. I'm surprised only 20% of people are picking the Cardinals. I'm one of them. I'm in that 20% bracket. I think this is kind of a coin flip game, but I'm going to go with the Cardinals in this one simply because they're at home. The Rams are beat to hell. They're missing their lineman. Puka's on IR. They are dealing with injuries everywhere. Stafford's fine. He's one of the toughest guys in the league. He's played through injuries his entire career. He got his ankle rolled up a couple times against Detroit last week. They are just beat to hell. They're banged up everywhere. Cardinals are relatively healthy. They took the Bills to the limit last week, and now they're at home opener. They're going to be optimistic about this year. They just took the Bills to the wire, who are expected to be, the Bills are always expected to be a top tier team. Nearly won in Buffalo. You're at home against a division rival who's, again, beat to hell. I actually, again, I would not at all be surprised if the Rams win this game. Even with their injuries, they were moving the ball really well against the Lions, and the defense is mostly healthy. But I think I think James Conner could have a really good day. As good as the Rams defense played last week, it looks like they tired out overtime. David Montgomery, the Lions just pounded the ball to him. He just plowed through their defensive line right into the end zone to win the game. I think the Cardinals are definitely going to see that in film, and they used James Conner a lot last week, and I think it's going to be the same case in this one. I think James Conner could have a monster game in this one. Kyler could run wild. I think they're going to try to get Marvin Harrison Jr. a lot more involved. I think he only had one catch for 4 yards last week. He was wide open in the end zone. In the Cardinals' last drive, Kyler wasn't able to see him. He did not have a good debut. I think he could have a good bounce back game in this one, though. The Cardinals' defense is not. It started off good last week, and then it was not good as the game progressed. They could not stop the Bills after like the first quarter, pretty much. Except they did get a stop it in the fourth there to give them a chance to win. So that's good that they played good in crunch time when they had to stop them there. I think the Rams offense, even though they're beat up, could have a good day. I just think the Cardinals offense has a good day too. And the Rams, they're just banged up. Cardinals at home. The Rams are the better team. If this was in LA, I'd probably be picking the Rams. But Cardinals at home, they're going to be optimistic, almost beat Buffalo in Buffalo, home opener. Think they could be a good team this year, definitely a scrappy team. Get the run game going against the questionable Rams defensive line. Um, yeah, I just think that the injuries, it's going to be a factor. Even though it's kind of risky, the Rams, I would not at all be surprised the Rams win this game. I'm gonna go with the Cardinals in this one. Kind of a bold pick, but I'm gonna go with the Cardinals. Don't think this is too much of a bold pick here. I'm gonna go with the Steelers. They're at Denver in the 425 slot. I'm gonna go with the Steelers. I feel pretty confident with this one. This has a low score game written all over it. I think this is a 2013. Actually, you know what? I not 13. I think this has eh, 2014, 2017 written all over it. I think Steelers get a lot of field. I think the Steelers move the ball fairly well, but they get stuffed in the end zone. I have to kick a lot of field goals. They had 6 field goals last week. I think the Steelers defense has a really good game. This could be a rough one for Bo Nix. Um, the Broncos offense did not look very good last week, except they did. The one good thing with the Broncos offense last week was they played good in crunch time. The end of the game there, they looked pretty good when they got that touchdown to give themselves a chance. And I will say, schematically, the Broncos checked it down. A lot of short passing last week. That is going to be beneficial against the Steelers because what are the Steelers known for? Their elite pass rush with Watt. They got Cam Hayward. You got Alex Highsmith. They that's an elite pass rush. And how do you beat pass rush? Getting the ball out quick. So schematically, Sean Payton is gonna he could have success with that, just getting the ball out. You can't sack the quarterback if he gets the ball out immediately. So that could work for them. But I just think the Steelers defense is gonna have they're just gonna feast on Bo Nix. I just think this is a really rough offensive showing for the Broncos. I think the Broncos defense is respectable, especially the Steelers offense is kind of iffy. I think the Steelers a lot of field goal games. I think Boswell is gonna have a great fantasy day if you have him on one of your teams. Um, yeah, I think this is a lot of field goal heavy game, a lot of punting, a lot of running clock in this one. But I think the Steelers, I feel pretty confident saying the Steelers going to win this game. Would not be shell shocked if I can't talk. Shell shocked if the Broncos win. This should definitely be a Mike Tomlin Steelers type of loss where you're favored in a game, especially coming off a win, and you lose to kind of a lesser team. But I feel fairly confident Steelers going to win this game. Unfortunately, this is another one I'm confident in. I'm picking the Chiefs in this one. Oh God, I seem like such an idiot picking the friggin' Bengals to win the Super Bowl. Obviously, they lost to us last week. That was embarrassing. And then a report came out last night saying Chase is done with contract negotiations. It doesn't look like Higgins is going to play. They are just a mess. Not even injury wise, just the players. Just it seems too much controversy with all their players for them to kind of unite as a team, try to achieve what they I'm trying to figure out how to word it. Unite as a team, achieve what they've been trying to the past couple of years, get to the Super Bowl and win it. They so frustrating. So frustrating this team. I like the Bengals. I like the Bengals. So it's just really frustrating. They do play the Chiefs really well. Even with Browning last year, they were up 10 in KC. And then they held the Chiefs to a lot of field goals in that game. They only lost by 8, but after they were up 10, had 17 points. They got shut out, at least if I remember right. But obviously, Burrow is better than Browning, even when he's kind of rusty, kind of working his way back, it seems like, based off of last week's game. No Higgins. That's a he plays really well against the Chiefs, so that's a big blow. Chase is I think Chase could have a decent day. I could also see him getting a lockdown. That'll be a storyline that he gets a lockdown. There's nothing. He came out and said that the Bengals are the team to beat in the AFC, so that's going to be a bulletin board point for the Chiefs right there. Um, yeah, the Bengals do play the Chiefs well. Chiefs, I don't think played a very complete game against the Ravens last week, but just not much logically is pointing to the Bengals being able to go into KC and win this game. But if they do win this game, I might be back on the Bengals hype train and not seem like as much of an idiot for picking them to win the Super Bowl this year. Um, yeah, but I just think the Chiefs, they're the type of team to take care of business going against the rival Bengals. I just not much logically is saying the Bengals win this game. I think the Chiefs offense could have a decent day. Their defense, I think, could have a good day, shutting the Bengals down fairly well. I think this will be I'm going to say this is a one score game. I think this is has a 24-17-ish type of feel to it, but I feel fairly confident saying the Chiefs win this one, unfortunately. Bears Texans Sunday night. That's going to be interesting game here. I feel pretty good with the Texans in this one. I don't want to overthink this one. The way I'm looking at it, you get two good defenses. The Texans defense was very up and down last week, but if they can clean it up, they're going to be a really elite defense this year under DeMeco Ryans. Bears got an elite defense too. They played lights out that second half against the Titans. But the way I look at it, you get two elite defenses. Okay, so let's just, one defense is probably better than the other, but let's just scratch it off, call that even. Okay, which offense are you taking? I 99 out of 100 people based off of last week are going to pick the Texans to it should be 100 out of 100 pick the Texans offense. They were clicking on all cylinders last week. They played great. Bears offense was a complete disaster last week. The Bears Stroud is not going to make the mistakes Levis made, especially that awful interception Levis had, that pick six to get the Bears the lead in the fourth quarter there. I don't think the Texans offense is going to fizzle out like the Titans offense did. I think the Texans defense in this game gets back on track. I think the Bears, I don't think they're going to have as bad a game they did last week, but I think the Bears offense isn't going to have a great game. I think, I think the Texans offense is going to be good. Their defense can get back on track. Bears defense, I think, will have a solid game, but I just think the Texans offense is going to be too much. And I just think, yeah, I don't think the Bears offense is going to be able to keep up with the Texans. I think the Texans are going to score around 27. The Bears are going to score around 14. I think the Texans win this game by 10 to 14 points is what I'm going to say. I feel pretty confident saying the Texans going to win. It's good to see them both teams getting prime time slot, though. I really like both teams. I like the Bears. I like the Texans. Good to see them getting a prime time slot on Monday Night Football. The last game, we Falcons Eagles. I am only 3% are on the Falcons. I not even feel. I feel very confident that the Eagles are going to win this game at Philly Monday night. Kirk Cousins working his way back from in general, Kirk Cousins on Monday night, obviously there's that narrative that he's horrible, can't win in prime time, especially Monday night. He had a Monday night game against the Eagles 2 years ago, week two against the Vikings. And I mean, with the Vikings against the Eagles on Monday night. And he played horrible. Slay picked him off multiple times. It just looked horrible. But Cousins is working his way back from the Achilles injury. Did not look very good last week. Only put up 10 points on the first half. Did not look good pretty much the whole game. Second half, he got shut out. Their offensive line did not look good, and the Eagles have a pretty good pass rush. Falcons defense did look good, though. I think they held the Steelers to 6 field goals, but I think the Eagles might be bold, but I feel fairly confident they're going to score at least 30 in this game. They put up 34 against the Packers last week with that awful Brazil field where they're slipping left and right, them and the Packers. But I think they get the run game. Saquon's gonna have a monster game. I I really need AJ Brown to play. He's questionable with a hamstring injury or hamstring soreness, something like that. I really need him to play because I'm obviously leaving him in my. I can't risk not playing him. But if he doesn't play, I have no one on my team that I can substitute out for him since the Monday night game. So I'll be completely screwed, and I can't. The 2 weeks I have him in, I'm 0-1, so I can't afford to go 0-2. So I'm gonna pray to God that AJ Brown play. It looks like he is. They're just being cautious about it, but I'm gonna really hope AJ Brown plays. I think they could have a good day though. The Eagles receivers, I definitely think Saquon and the run game get going, have a good day or a good game. I mean, um, yeah, I just in Philly that crowd's gonna be going crazy. Home opener. I think they were technically the home team in Brazil, but obviously that wasn't a home game. Um, yeah, I just think Hurts was very iffy passing last week. I think he cleans it up, has a fairly efficient game. Hurts could run, get some good runs in this game. I just think the Eagles are going to have a really good day running the football. And defensively, I think they have a good game. I think the Falcons are, I think they'll play better than they did last week offensively, but I just don't see them being able to keep up with the Eagles offense, especially the rusty Kirk Cousins working his way back from the Achilles injury, that questionable offensive line. Yeah, just I don't see them being able to keep up with the Eagles. I think this is 31-20. That this is that type of game written all over it. So that's why I have 51 here. I think it's going to be 31-20 in the Eagles' favor. So that's why I have 51 is the tiebreaker here. Um, so yeah, mostly I went with most of the favorites this week. Couple underdog picks. I get Cardinals as underdogs, Giants underdogs, Pats underdogs. Yeah, those games are the Pats, Giants, the ones I'm least confident about. I'm kind of more confident the Cardinals could pull off the upset if I had to pick one. Most likely to pick off the ups. You know what? Actually, I'm going to say us, and then the Cardinals, maybe just barely. I don't know. I don't know. This game is definitely going to bite me on the ass in my pick. I could see us having a rough game against the Seahawks defense. Hopefully this game doesn't bite me on the ass, but I'm going to go with my team. We're going to win the Super Bowl this year, 17-0. Yeah, I feel pretty good with most of my picks. I also felt good with this fairly well this pick and got my friggin' ass handed to me. So hopefully that's not too telling this week. Got a lot of bets this week. Hopefully they hit. My 5 fantasy teams, 2 and 3 last week. Hopefully I can do a little better this week. Yeah, I feel pretty good with most of my picks though. 13-4, pretty good overall win-loss. I feel pretty good with my picks this week, I'm gonna say. Um, yeah, Chargers are my survivor pool pick. I had the Seahawks last year. I'm trying to go. My strategy is to use the mediocre to respectable teams at the start of the year, and then save the elite teams like the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Eagles, teams like that towards the end of the end of the year there when most people probably already have used them up already. Or a good strategy might just be to pick whoever's playing the Panthers. Sorry, Panthers. Oh my God. But anyway, I feel pretty good with my picks. Yeah, I'll wrap the video up here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Again, sorry I'm getting it uploaded late. It's Sunday morning as I'm recording this. Um, but yeah, you guys know how it is. Just super slammed, super busy. You guys know how it is. We're all busy in life. But yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Have fun watching football today. Good luck fantasy betting, whatever, to your team. Let's Seahawks. Yeah. Have a good one, guys. Enjoy football. Take it easy, and I'll catch you in the next video.